down. We got dropped off in Battery Park, and when we got dropped off there, we were walking through soot up to our thighs, okay? As we were starting to walk up towards the towers, and that, the last tower standing, I watched somebody jump from the 86th floor and somebody jump from the 102nd floor, and ended up no more than 20 feet in front of me, okay? They did not live, and that when they hit the ground, they just popped, and that it was a scary looking sight. As we got up closer, and that we started going into the last tower that was standing, in which I went in, and all of a sudden I found my buddy. His name is Dave, and I found him, and we were talking about how we were going to move people out. And at that point, Dave looked at me and he said, "Bill, you're needed more outside than you are inside. I know you're fire, but you're more medical than you are fire. So why don't you head outside?" And I was like, for a minute there, I hesitated. Then I said, "All right, Dave, I guess I'll go." And he turned, and I said, "Dave, where are you going? Aren't you going to come out with me?" He goes, "Bill, I'm a cop. I have to go back inside." He went back inside, and as I was coming up the steps, I turned and looked back and said, "Dave, I'll come and find you." Okay? At that point, I went running up the steps because the tower started coming down, and I hid under an 18-wheeler truck, figuring that if the tires got blown out and the truck collapsed, I would be maybe in a confined spot or I'd be crushed to death. At the time when I dove under the tower, dove under the truck, and that, all I was thinking about, and I looked back and I said, "Dave, I'll find you. I'll come back and find you." At that point, another gentleman jumped underneath the truck with me, and after everything quieted down and, you know, dust was settling and all that, I asked the gentleman to do me a favor and to pinch me. And he goes, "Why?" I said, "I want to know if we're alive or if we're in living hell." Well, it hurt, so you know where I am. I was in living hell. The gentleman started running back towards the dark part of the cloud. I asked the gentleman, I said, "Excuse me, sir, are you with the emergency services?" He goes, "No, I'm not. I came from the 29th floor, and I saw you dive under the truck, so I did too." I said, "Okay, well, sir, you don't want to run down towards the dark part of the cloud. You want to run the other way towards the light part." So that's what he started to do. He turned and looked at me and said, "Well, aren't you coming with me?" I said, "Sir, I'm with the fire department, emergency services. I have to go back and try to find people." I was there for a total of 3 months. I was only let go for an hour to go home, catch a quick shower, and I ended up coming back. What happened was, on that Thursday, my commander came walking around and was asking us, "How long have we been there?" And I asked my commander, and I said, "Well, what day is it?" He goes, "It's Thursday." I said, "I've been here since the get-go." And that, he goes, "Have you slept at all?" I said, "Maybe total of five seconds, not even maybe 5 minutes, because every time I would lay down and use the curb as my pillow and the macadam as my bed, and I closed my eyes, I just felt like I heard somebody screaming that they were still alive and they wanted help. And so I really didn't sleep at all. The second time on Thursday when they came around and tapped us on our shoulders, and they told us that we had to stop. And I asked, "Why did we have to stop?" They said, "Well, President Bush is here to thank you for doing everything." And at that time, my commander had somebody in a black suit, Secret Service. And I told my commander and I told Secret Service, I said, "Listen, there's two things." I said, "One, go back and tell President Bush, get a hard hat and a pair of gloves and get over here and start working." The other thing, I told the Secret Service, I said, if you don't like that, shoot me, because I'm not stopping. And we didn't stop, and we just kept on going. And that afternoon, they sent me home to just get a shower, and then I had to come back. And at the time that I was home, my ex-wife at that time turned around and said, why do you have the TV on? And I said, I want to see what you people are seeing, because it's nothing what I am seeing. At that time, I got back there, and by that afternoon, around 3:30, I got on an Army telephone, and I called my son. It was the first time my son was ever away from home. He was going to Wagner College in Staten Island, and they could look down and see everything that was going on. At that time, he was also going to school there, and he also played on a club hockey team. And I was the medical trainer for the team. And a number of the team members also had fathers that were in with the New York Fire Department. I was the last individual that called him that day to tell him that I was okay. As soon as I got my son on the phone, he turned around and he goes, Dad, I know where you are. I said, where do you think I am? He says, you're in the thick of it. You wouldn't have it any other way. And I said, yes, I am. He says, just be careful, be safe, and come home. And, you know, for 3 months down there, it was just a nightmare. I have never been able to put my feet back on that ground. Hopefully sometime before I pass away, I will be able to, but right now, I can't. So, so much for that. But for the 3 months that we were working down there and all that, every hour on the hour, we had to change our boots because the soles of our shoes were burning from the hot coals and everything to build in the fire that was underneath. We also had rescue dogs that were helping us try to locate people that were alive. We put booties on their feet. Every time we changed our boots, we changed their boots. Every time we had a few minutes of a break, we would turn around and go and hide somewhere so the dogs could come and find us. It was a combination of keeping our wits together and also keeping the dogs, their wits together, because they were starting to get depressed that they weren't finding anybody alive. We were too. I finally went into a stairwell 3 months later. I ended up finding my friend Dave. I found his shirt and his badge. He did die with a fellow officer. And that found his shirt and his badge too. When I finally got done, I went to 102 funerals. While I was at those funerals, every time they played taps, every time they played the song Amazing Grace, okay, they also had a 21-gun salute for every one of those fallen officers, firemen, first responders. And for months, I couldn't stand in a room and listen to either taps or Amazing Grace. Until a couple of months ago, when I was taking a choir group from York, PA, and they saw me walking out of the room every time they sung Amazing Grace. They asked me, how come I walk out? I told them my story. Ever since then, when they were singing Amazing Grace, they had me come up and I told them my testimony, the people that came to hear them sing. And then they would pull me in the background and have me sing Amazing Grace. Now trust me, by singing, I turn the shower water off when I'm singing. But I've now finally gotten over hearing that song, because also my wife bought a clock, and every hour on the hour it plays Amazing Grace. So you guys are going to go somewhere where I haven't been able to bring myself back to. And that it's an amazing place. The waterfalls, I hear, is supposed to be amazing. That's where the two towers used to stand. Okay? A lot of us did not want to have the tower, the new Freedom Tower, put up. The biggest thing that we had the most argument about was only a few blocks from where the Freedom Tower is and the World Trade Center is a mosque. And we were very, very upset about having the mosque and that. But, you know, gotta do. You know, United States, land of the free, so that's what happens. But let me tell you, when you get to 9/11, just try to honor everybody, try to keep quiet, and just imagine. You're going to see some scenes in the memorial as what I hear of what happened that day, and it's just, it'll stay in my mind, it'll be in my mind until I leave this world. Now, Bill won't say who will admit this.